Hey everybody, it's time for another Tony tidbit, and I am a home brewer. So during the time of the quarantine, I've actually been picking up my hobby a little bit more often and brewing my own beer. And one of the steps that I like to take is actually in order to improve the beer, is to create a yeast starter. Now, a yeast starter basically allows me to get a package of yeast, typically liquid yeast, and allows me to basically cultivate and replicate that yeast so that when I'm pitching the yeast into the beer, it allows fermentation to start quicker, get healthy yeast cells to go out there and do its job. So it's really nice, and it's a good practice to actually have a yeast starter. And so what I came across, and before doing a yeast starter, it used to be getting light dry malt extract, heating it up to a boil for 3 to 5 minutes, and then cooling it down. You're basically making a mini batch of beer, and then you pitch your yeast, and then you let it propagate. Here they have something called a proper yeast starter, and it's actually a can. Proper yeast starter is actually wort-in-a-can, and it actually helps you create this yeast starter very quickly. You would do all the sanitary techniques that I show you in this video, but it really helps on your brew day. Now, I have 2 kids, as I mentioned before, and sometimes going through the whole process of creating a yeast starter from scratch, or it can be, it actually could take some time with a lot of interruptions. And so I'm going to demonstrate how to use this proper yeast starter to start your yeast and let it propagate properly. And you're going to see it's very simple to do. So I highly recommend these proper yeast starters. This is actually going to be my second time using it. So the first time that I used it, I put it in the Erlenmeyer flask, and it started going really quickly. Got a really high quality yeast. So I'm doing it a second time because today I don't have a lot of time to do the yeast starter. So here is the video on how to create and use the proper wort-in-a-can yeast start. Hey everybody, here are the things that we need in order to make this yeast starter. Before I start, I'm going to read basically what's on the can of this proper concentrated wort for yeast starters. It says, the instructions say that to sanitize a 2-liter flask, stir bar top of can and yeast pack. Swirl open can, pour contents into flask. Add 16 ounces of bottled, distilled, or bottled water to flask. It says boiled and boiled water to flask. Of course, you need to chill that or cool it. Pitch yeast and swirl flask to mix, and then add stir bar to flask. Cover with foil and mix, or stir plate for 24 hours. So my stir plate is already set up, so I will show you the final result when I'm done. So let's follow the instructions here. We're starting with a sanitized 2-liter flask. We have our bottled water. We have our stir bar, and we have our yeast. So what I'm going to do here is just kind of get some of this out. And I have the foil. I'm going to basically spray that. I usually take this stir bar and put it in the foil and then spray it. Kind of just let it sit for a little bit. And it says we're going to spray the yeast when we get there. Swirl and open the can and pour contents into flask. So we're going to swirl, kind of shake it there, but I think it's okay. It doesn't have any CO2 with it. And what we're going to do is we're going to sanitize the top of this can. Okay, make sure it's there. And we're going to pop it open. Oh, it did kind of bust open a little bit, but that's okay. And we're gonna basically pour it into our sanitized flask. Smells like beer. All right. We got our concentrated wort in there. We're gonna keep this around. And so it says, swirl open the can, pour contents into flask, and then we're gonna add basically our water. I'm gonna just sanitize the top here real quick. We're gonna open the top, careful not to touch inside, and then just pour it on into the flask. All right, so we now have our wort. And then the third part, which we've done, is to add the bottled water. Now we're gonna pitch the yeast. So what we're gonna do is make sure that all the clumps in here are broken up, which it tends to do, which is fine. Make sure you shake it to make sure it's kind of a homogeneous mixture. What we're gonna do is sanitize the top of this. We got our kitchen scissors here. We're gonna sanitize our kitchen scissors. We are going to cut the top. All right, and it has the internal sleeve, right? And we're going to pitch this into our flask like this. All done. Now we have our yeast. Make sure we got everything. So I'm just gonna, there we go. All right, we got it going. And it does say to swirl the flask. Okay, so now it's kind of mixed up. We have our stir bar here that we put in our foil. We're just gonna gently put that in, and we're gonna cover it, and I'll show you on my homemade stir plate what to do after. And here is the end result. A yeast starter. This is my homemade stir plate. And look at it go. It has a good vortex there. And it took me less than 5 minutes to get this going. So very easy. Normally it would take me about 30 minutes or more to get everything all set for the yeast starter. But here with the proper yeast starter, it took 5 minutes. I hope you enjoyed this video. If this content was useful to you, please like it. And also, if you want to get updated videos or any additional videos that I do, please subscribe.